Alright guys, so another 2XKO video. This one's going to be much shorter. It's only a 1 minute sneak peek is what it's referred to as, but it's a gameplay sneak peek of Jinx. This shouldn't be coming out at the same time. Obviously, Riot Games, they know what they're doing. This should be coming out at the same time that I'm reacting to the Arcane Season 2, Episode 1. I will do a reaction series on that. I had that for season 1, so we're going to do that for season 2, obviously, especially since season 2 is the final season of that. But that's not what we're here for today. Today we're here for the video game, which is not League of Legends, which I know nothing about. Apart from that, it's a MOBA. And then some of the small things with the characters, obviously because of Arcane. But I am a fighting game fan. If you guys don't know that already, then now you know. That's great. I do Street Fighter stuff, Tekken stuff, some other stuff on the other channels, but main channel, that's what I normally focus on. And then, here we are. We got 2XKO. I'm pretty excited. I think I did try the beta. I didn't post a video about the beta at all. The beta was very bare bones, very, very bare bones. It didn't look it when you played it, but there was a lot of portions about it that I was like, I think I need to give myself time mentally, and I'm glad I did, because my first impressions were not great, I'll be honest, of it, but I think this is just because it's very rare I get to try a game that is that far away from actually release. So I was being a little harsh on some of my opinions on it, so I decided I'm not going to do that, especially when I felt like it felt too negative, you know what I mean? That it didn't really make sense in my head. I was like, you know what? I got to look at this from like a long-term lens. And yeah, luckily I didn't post anything about that. But for anyone who's curious, my only negativities about it, it just felt like it was a bit clunky. A lot of it was just gameplay stuff that I found out later on was kind of just character preferences. I might touch into that later on, depends on what we see here. So let me jump into this because that's what we're here for. And we'll go from there. So let's start in 3, 2, 1, go. See what Jinx is like. Because I'm pretty curious. Oh, of course. They're doing all the Arcane stuff. Would you look at that? They know their audience.
You can try to run, but me, I run this place.
I mean, she's the superstar of this, right? So she's the most famous character from League at this point. Cool. Some hit strings. Oh, whoa, the juggle potential. Oh. That wasn't a super though, right? I don't think so. Oh yeah, Echo of course is already in the game. She's got a lot of aerial stuff. Mines, that makes sense because of her toys. So is her super an aerial? That's funny. Animation's cool. Oh no, it's a down. Whoa. So you could juggle. There's a playtest in 2025? Of course there is. That would make sense. So you can juggle. Sorry. I know everyone's like, well, what do you think? What do you think? It looks cool. This is where I'm saying, like, this is where my interest comes in. So let me do regular speed. So this, and then there's a juggle here. Yeah, so level 1, S1 super. Okay, S1 super is a juggle in the air. And then S2 super while you're juggling in the air. S2 super comes in after this long ass animation, goes bam right from the ground. So could you, I'm trying to remember if I could stack S1 and then S2. I think you could, because you would have like 3 levels of meter, so you can do S1 into S2. I think you could, but again, linking the supers, I don't think it's very common. You would have to rely on like tag team stuff. There's also like, I gotta think about the other characters. I mean, Ari, you could do some stuff. Alawi, can you do anything with that? I'm not too sure. Trying to think of the characters that I like to play, but Darius, I think you could do some stuff with, because he's got his axe in the midair clutch. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's actually really cool that she's very like, she juggles, but I mean, some of the stuff was obvious, like her using her toys. I mean, duh. That's what she does on the show. So, I mean, again, my frame of basis, I don't know anything about League, gameplay-wise, how she plays in a MOBA game. I'm not using that as a frame of reference. But at least in the show, I'm not surprised. Echo kind of does what you expect when you see him in the show anyways. So I'm kind of like, yeah. Jinx would have made sense. But yeah, I like the choice of giving her juggle potential, but not for her. You know what I mean? Because this is a tag team game. It will play off really well with teammates. So as for how easy it is to set that up, typically it's pretty easy in this game to go through neutral. It's not too difficult, but with some characters it's harder. So I'm curious as to how she deals with what's his name, Braum, the shield guy. I wonder how she deals with him, and maybe even Darius. I don't know about Darius, but I'm trying to think who would be kind of tricky. I think Braum. Honestly, I'm just very curious as to how she deals with Braum, because sometimes, like Braum, for example, was a character that I felt like in the beta you had to fight Braum with Braum or Ari, I guess, like just something that just is good and you know is good. So kind of worried about that for the game a little bit. So I'm hoping like at least the starting roster has enough that you can play around with it. You can still have fun. Um, but yeah, this seems pretty cool. This seems pretty cool. I did say like I would slightly talk about my opinions of one issue that I don't know how it's going to be played out with this game. And I think the long term thing I was just concerned about is that um, and again, this is completely subjective. This could just be my how I view it. I at the end of the day, skill issue. Just get good, kid. That kind of mentality is not actually a bad argument. It's not a bad retaliation to any criticism. But um, I think for me, I was just kind of like, it felt like if you like a certain type of gameplay, like a certain type of character. Normally in fighting games, you have rushdowns, you have grapplers, you have the heavy bodies, you have all these different types, zoners. There's not really any dedicated zoner or grappler in this game yet, but in terms of like playstyle, there's definitely specific things. I will say, wow, if you don't, there's like normally there's like a you can play around between the character and find your own way to play the character, despite the fact that they're normally made with this in mind, right? Like the character's kit. Like let's use Cammy for example. Cammy is a rushdown character from Street Fighter, right? You don't have to play Cammy strictly rushdown to get results. You can play a little bit tactically if you want. You can wait it out, play more neutral if you want. Um, you can do that with some characters here. It's funny because this game makes me think that, oh, it's super imaginative with what you can do. That's if you're really really good at the game. If you're really really good at the game, cool. At a base general level, like a normie level, I genuinely am surprised. In my opinion, based on the beta, the alpha, sorry, the alpha test, and again, really really early, right? My only concern was that it seemed like if you didn't like a character's kit and the kind of character they are, not who they are, right? You may like Jinx, but how Jinx plays, you may not like. You're kind of short of luck. Like you're just not. I wouldn't recommend going into it because it would take a lot of time investment, a lot, like way more than normal for you to find to get over that hurdle, right? Like if you don't like Yasuo is a character that I think is super cool, super super technical though, and not a character that I'm super fond of that play style with. But I was like, I'm sure I can figure out some things. No, dude. No, 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 no. Even tagging is just kind of, I think, avoiding the problem. Where it's like I'm running away from choosing Yasuo, so I'll choose like characters I like Alawi, for example. Alawi wasn't even good, like in the alpha, but I loved Alawi. So for me, I was kind of like, it wasn't even like, oh, only the good characters are fun to play and only the bad characters are. No, dude, the character that most people said was the worst character in the roster, like to actually play competitively, like you get the best results. I had one of the most fun with, but Ari, who is the most broken, I also had the most fun with, and I paired those two together because I had the most fun playing as those two, and they play differently, but they play as characters that I kind of like in different ways. But that's because I just could not find a way to get my, even with Darius, for example. I don't mind Darius. I've played characters like Darius before, but usually I can get a little more freedom with him. Here I'm like, I don't think I can. I think the game's like you have to play it this way, really, if you want to do things with them, which is strange, which is really really strange. And again, I only had it for about a week, so take this with a really 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 light grain of salt. It's not that serious, and I'm sure the game has already changed a ton. That's just my initial impression. So that's why I was very curious when looking at Jinx here. So I know this is a 1 minute thing that turned into a whole 10-minute thing, but I thought since I didn't make a whole video out of it, I might as well explain my thoughts. So there we go. Let me know down below what you guys think about Jinx, gameplay stuff, what you're most excited about. Obviously, you know, if you're a fighting game fan and you're looking forward to the video, you know, the actual video game, which character are you hyped for the most? If you know league characters, cool. If you're like me, you don't know, then I guess we'll just wait. But I'll be curious if I see some names in the comments and then later on this character does get revealed and I'm like, oh, I know this by name. I don't know what they do, but yeah. So obviously if you guys are enjoying the content, you like 2XKO, like and subscribe, you know how that stuff goes. But I'll catch you guys in the next 2XKO video or in the arcade reaction. So I hope you guys have a good one. Take care, peace, and goodbye.